Okay. Okay, let me think of what I'm going to say. I have something in my eye. Yep, that's an eyeball. So, what was the question again? For starters, I grew up in a fairly Christian home. I grew up going to church every Sunday, and it was kind of not negotiable. I had to go. My mom and my brother and I just trudged along to church every Sunday. And when I turned 12, my mom gave us the option to either go to church and not go to church. And I chose to keep going to church. But in high school, I struggled because I always saw myself as this good Christian girl. I was always the one that they saw and they were like, she's the one that goes to church every Sunday. She's the one who to go to if you need a prayer or you need advice or you need a shoulder to cry on. And I struggled with that because people would come to me with their problems and I looked at them and I judged them, even though I would come and I would pretend that I would love on them. Me and my mom were super involved in the church, and so was my brother for a while. And so I spent like every Sunday, every Wednesday, most of the time on Fridays, and like every other day throughout the week, I would be there for a little bit to make sure that everything was working well with my mom. And that was a huge thing. It caused me to look at myself, or look at other people that weren't as involved in the church or didn't go to church, that they were less than me. Works was super important to salvation, and that if I wasn't doing ministry at my church, if I wasn't in the elementary school room during Sunday school and I wasn't helping them out, or if I wasn't there like trimming the trees during the week, that my salvation wasn't good enough. When I was 12, my mom let us have the option of going to church and not going to church. I went the Christian direction, the way that I stayed really good morals and I stayed really well with the church. Whereas my brother, he chose not to go with the church. He started hanging out with the wrong people. He got into drugs, he got into drinking, he got into a gang, and he got into just some really bad stuff. And I looked at him as he was lower than me. I just looked down on him. I never looked at him like he was good enough. So I was here. I was on this pedestal of like how great I am. And this was something that I fought with, and I still fight with it. I never realized it was not a good thing for me to do until I got into college, when I was put in front of people where they looked at me like that. They looked at me like I was the one that they would never want to be like. So my transition into college, my first year, was very difficult for me. I struggled with a lot of inside issues, and I decided I didn't want to be in California anymore. I wanted to move away. So I decided to go to a school in Idaho. I went to Boise State. When I got up there, I was dating a guy that I met the summer before, and he became controlling. When I moved up there, he became verbally abusive to me, and I let it happen. I let that happen for me. I let him be verbally abusive to me until one day he just up and left. And when he left, I felt like I had no place. I became so toxic to be around that I was trying to see if I could fit in the party scene. So I would go out and drink a little bit. And I never really felt like I fit in there because I still had subconscious thoughts of Christ behind there. But I pushed to try and get into that scene a little bit. I looked at them and the people who were plastered, and there was throw up on my dorm room, in my dorm hallway. And I said, "You shouldn't have done that last night." But I was still hungover from the last night too. Something else that I did to try and fill the void was I tried to fill the void with working out. So instead of Sunday morning going to find a church and being immersed in the Christian culture there, I was like, I'm just gonna go to the gym. I couldn't be in that place anymore. And I up and left. I was registered for the next semester. I was planning on going, and 2 days before I was supposed to go back to it on winter break, I just left. My high school best friend was going to Biola, which is right by my house. It's about 15 minutes away. And so I was like, oh, I don't want to go there. Like, oh, I still want to go out, like, away from my home. And so I never saw it as an option. And so my friend was like, hey, come to campus with me. I was like, I don't really want to go to a Christian campus. Like, I'm not in the right place. And she goes, no, I just got to pick up something for my dorm. I was like, okay, like I'll go to the campus. And she goes, oh, I gotta go to the library. And so that means I'm walking from her dorm all the way across campus, watching and looking at people and saying, they are better than me now. And she stopped me on the way back and goes, like, Lauren, do you feel that? And I was like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I have a sense that God wants you here. And I went home and I was like, you know what, God, I haven't talked to you in a while, but here I am talking to you and asking you, what should I do? After days of trying to figure things out, that I did feel that God wanted me at Biola. So I started my year at Biola, and it was wonderful. It was great until it wasn't. So January of 2018, I applied for clinical nursing, and I was super excited. I looked really good on paper. I had straight A's. I did really good on the entrance test. I had community showing, like I volunteered at a hospital, I volunteered at my church. I looked really good. I didn't get in. And I was one of the only ones that didn't get in. And I didn't understand it. They looked at me and told me that I was unprofessional, that I was not nice, that I didn't think critically, that I had no empathy and I had no heart. They looked at me and they said, how dare you even want to be a nurse, because you are not qualified. This time of my life was the worst time of my life, even more than back in the beginning of college, because it was something where I felt like I was doing really good. I felt like I was on a high. I was starting to really get myself. And people looked at me and said, something's wrong. Something is wrong with you, Lauren. And that was to the point where I was like, you're right, something is wrong with me, and I need to figure this out. I need to handle it. I need to process. I looked back about everything that was on paper. I had all the boxes checked. I had good grades. I was good at the community. I was in ministry. I volunteered. I did really good on my tests. I looked great. When I got rejected, all those boxes kind of disappeared. It didn't matter that those boxes were checked, because works were so important to me. Even though I knew, because of all the biblical classes I had, that works wasn't part of the salvation, in my head, I still, if I felt lost, just do more ministry. What else can I do? Can I be in the nursery? And I didn't know who I was after, because I was taken out from a place that I thought I belonged. I was taken out from what I thought I was supposed to do, so I didn't understand, and I wasn't, because I was solely looking at myself, and I wasn't looking at what God wanted me to do, that I was lost. I was lost. That is another word. I was lost, and I didn't know who I was.